Blood still stained the floorboards of the Travis farmhouse when Thomas Riddick arrived in Southampton County, Virginia, on August 25, 1831. 3 days had passed since Nat Turner's rebellion claimed 55 white lives in what would become known as the deadliest slave uprising in American history. But what Riddick discovered during his 70-day hunt for the surviving rebels revealed that the official death count was a carefully constructed lie. The true horror of Turner's revolt went far deeper than anyone dared admit. The authorities had hired Riddick to bring back fugitive slaves, but they never told him he would be hunting men who knew secrets worth killing for secrets that powerful Virginia families had buried beneath decades of silence and blood. The carnage that greeted him in those first hours paled in comparison to what he would uncover about the systematic crimes that triggered Turner's methodical campaign of justice. The smell of death hung heavy in the humid Virginia air as Riddick examined crime scenes that would haunt him for the rest of his life, each revealing patterns that challenged the authorities' claims of the rebellion's random nature. Southampton County in 1831 was a patchwork of tobacco plantations and small farms where the Nottoway River wound through dense forests and treacherous swamplands that had witnessed more violence than most residents cared to acknowledge. The county's 4,000 residents, split almost evenly between white and enslaved, lived in an uneasy balance maintained through generations of carefully orchestrated fear and brutal repression. This wasn't just another rural Virginia county. It was a powder keg where wealthy planters had grown increasingly paranoid about controlling their human property, often resorting to methods that shocked even fellow slaveholders. Thomas Riddick had built his reputation as one of Virginia's most effective slave catchers over 15 years, tracking fugitives through the South's worst terrain. At 38, he stood 6 feet tall with the lean build of a man who had spent countless nights sleeping rough in swamps and forests. His weathered face bore scars from encounters with desperate runaways, but his gray eyes held a calculating intelligence that made him successful where other bounty hunters failed. Riddick's methodical approach and ability to think like his quarry, studying their patterns and motivations, allowed him to predict their moves with uncanny accuracy. What set him apart was his literacy and habit of keeping detailed records. As a youth, he taught himself to read and write during his time as an indentured servant, skills that proved invaluable in his profession. He maintained careful notes about the families he worked for, the slaves he pursued, and the social dynamics of the communities where he operated, saving his life more than once when clients tried to cheat him or local politics turned dangerous. Riddick was working the tobacco harvest in neighboring Nansemond County when panicked riders brought news of the massacre that would change everything. By the time he reached Southampton County on that sweltering August afternoon, the immediate aftermath revealed troubling inconsistencies. White militias from as far as North Carolina had descended, conducting house searches and summary executions of any slave deemed suspicious. The fear was palpable. Women clutched their children, refusing to let them out of sight, while men gathered in armed groups, their faces etched with terror that spoke of more than just recent violence. What struck Riddick was the selective nature of the destruction. These weren't random acts of violence born from desperation or opportunity. The rebels had moved with surgical precision, striking specific homes while deliberately avoiding others that seemed equally vulnerable. The Travis farm, where the rebellion began in earnest, showed signs of careful planning. The family had been caught off guard at their most vulnerable moment, suggesting inside knowledge of their daily habits. Inconsistencies in witness testimony were equally troubling. Some survivors claimed the attackers were wild and frenzied, while others described them as eerily calm and purposeful. Several witnesses reported the rebels searching for specific items or documents, ransacking studies and bedrooms while ignoring valuable silver and jewelry. Most disturbing were accounts that some attackers called victims by name, and made specific accusations before striking, suggesting personal knowledge field slaves shouldn't have possessed. County officials provided Riddick with a list of 6 fugitive slaves still at large, led by Nat Turner himself, offering generous bounties $50 for each captured rebel and an unprecedented $200 for Turner alive. But as Riddick studied the official reports and spoke with witnesses, he noticed gaps and contradictions that consumed his thoughts. The rebellion supposedly began at dawn on August 22, but several witnesses reported hearing gunshots and screams as early as August 20, dismissed as hunting accidents or slave discipline. The rebels had allegedly covered nearly 20 miles in a single day, striking multiple properties with military precision. Yet official reports made no mention of how field slaves acquired such tactical knowledge or coordination. As Riddick set up his base in Jerusalem, the county seat, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was no simple manhunt for desperate fugitives. On his 3rd day in Southampton County, Riddick made a disturbing discovery at the ruins of the Reese plantation, a once prosperous tobacco operation. The main house had been burned to the ground with such thoroughness that even the stone foundation showed cracks from intense heat. According to the official report, 5 members of the Reese family perished in the flames after being overwhelmed by rebels. But as Riddick sifted through the charred remains, his trained eye caught something chilling. The bodies hadn't died in the fire. They were positioned in the house after death and burned to obscure the true manner of their deaths. Scorch patterns on surviving floorboards suggested accelerants poured in specific locations to ensure complete destruction of evidence. Personal belongings were scattered in patterns indicating they were moved after the family's death, suggesting a search for specific items before the fire was set. Bullet holes in the stone foundation walls, made from inside the house, indicated the family had barricaded themselves and fought back, contradicting the narrative of being caught off guard while sleeping. A hidden cellar beneath the ruins revealed even more disturbing evidence. Partially surviving the fire, it showed signs of recent occupation, not by the Reese family, but by someone imprisoned there. Iron shackles bolted to the wall held fragments of cloth and human hair, and scratches carved into the stone told stories of desperation and suffering unmentioned in official reports. The cellar's existence was concealed from the main house, accessible only through a hidden entrance requiring specific knowledge to locate. That evening, an elderly slave named Moses, who had worked on the Reese plantation for over 40 years and escaped the massacre, approached Riddick behind the county courthouse. His weathered hands shook as he handed Riddick a small leather pouch, speaking in careful whispers. "Mr. Turner, he left this for whoever come looking," Moses said to tell them what they'd done to Master Reese's girl weren't no secret no more. Said the whole county ginna know what kind of man Reese really was, and what happened to all them children who disappeared over the years. Inside the pouch, Riddick found a child's hair ribbon, once white, but now stained with dried blood, suggesting violence from years past. A page torn from a family Bible had passages about justice and retribution underlined in red ink. Most chilling was a daguerreotype of a young girl resembling both the Reese family and their enslaved workers, her eyes holding a sadness no child should know. Moses revealed that the girl was Reese's daughter, born to a 14-year-old slave and raised as a servant until her resemblance to her father became too obvious. She had disappeared. Officially sold to a distant plantation, but the blood-stained ribbons suggested a darker fate that Turner and his followers had uncovered and used to justify their actions. The next morning brought news that escalated Riddick's investigation into dangerous territory. Dr. Marcus Blunt, the county physician documenting the rebellion's casualties, was found dead in his study, officially labeled a heart attack from the stress of treating wounded militiamen. But Riddick noticed defensive wounds on Blunt's hands, overturned furniture indicating a struggle, and an empty safe cracked open with professional skill, Blunt's housekeeper, Sarah Vaughn, revealed that he had been secretly examining bodies and keeping notes locked in his safe. The night before his death, he confided that the official casualty reports were fabricated, the true death toll was higher, and some victims were killed before the rebellion began, suggesting older crimes were being covered up. As Riddick continued his investigation, he noticed he was being watched by Weld, rest men at taverns, and riders following him at a distance. Witnesses he planned to interview became unavailable, claiming illness or memory loss. The pattern of intimidation suggested a conspiracy far beyond a simple slave rebellion. Determined, Riddick focused on the Great Dismal Swamp, a vast wilderness where Turner and his followers were believed to be hiding. The swamp, stretching across hundreds of square miles, was a natural fortress that had sheltered runaway slaves for generations, with rumors of maroon communities living independently within its depths. On September 15, Riddick met Captain Isaiah Fletcher, a veteran tracker who shared intelligence about rebel camps receiving food, ammunition, and medical supplies from unknown benefactors. Fletcher suggested Turner wasn't the real leader, hinting at someone with military knowledge orchestrating the rebellion. Prominent families had offered Fletcher bonuses to kill specific rebels, revealing their fear of what captives might disclose. Riddick realized Turner's rebellion was about justice for specific crimes hidden for decades. On October 1, Riddick discovered his campsite had been searched with professional skill, and a noose left as a warning strengthened his resolve. Mapping rebel camps revealed a sophisticated network extending beyond Southampton County, with supplies coming from local merchants, farmers, and officials. Capturing William Porter, one of Turner's wounded followers, brought a breakthrough. Porter revealed Turner had spent 5 years documenting crimes, sexual abuse, murder, theft, and corruption, reaching Virginia's highest levels. Turner, literate and cunning, maintained hidden records, including witness testimonies and confessions, using his preacher role to gather intelligence. In an abandoned tobacco barn, Riddick found a trunk containing daguerreotypes of mutilated slaves, detailed notes on their deaths, and documents proving a conspiracy among planters and officials to cover up crimes. Turner's journal revealed he had conducted a comprehensive criminal investigation, documenting a network of violence and corruption involving Virginia's elite. On October 20, Sheriff James Epps asked Riddick to catalog evidence for state investigators, but his suspicious behavior suggested personal involvement. That night, Riddick's hotel room was ransacked by professional thieves targeting specific documents. The next morning, Fletcher was found tortured and murdered, his network scattered. Broadsides containing Turner's evidence appeared across the county, sparking panic and a brutal crackdown. Riddick realized Turner's rebellion was an information war, using truth to dismantle oppression. On October 30, Riddick found Turner in a hidden shelter with Judge Samuel Rochelle, a respected magistrate and Turner's ally. Rochelle revealed his daughter Sarah was murdered by the Henderson family to silence her discovery of their crimes. Turner and Rochelle had documented a conspiracy among elite families, using the rebellion to expose it. Turner handed Riddick a confession detailing the conspiracy's structure and evidence locations, a roadmap for justice, but a death sentence for its bearer. Riddick faced a choice: deliver Turner to be hanged or ensure the truth reached those who could act on it. Officially, he captured and executed Turner on November 11, 1831, but in truth, Riddick and Rochelle arranged for Turner to be transported to Philadelphia, where he worked with abolitionists. William Porter was hanged in Turner's place, a deception enabled by Rochelle's network. Riddick delivered Turner's evidence to federal investigators, leading to the downfall of Virginia families and exposing corruption. Riddick retired to Ohio, documenting his findings in a private journal. His account, discovered later, revealed the rebellion's true nature as a calculated effort to expose systemic crimes. The evidence fueled abolitionist arguments, shifting the national debate on slavery. The Great Dismal Swamp became a symbol of resistance, and Turner's legacy inspired the Underground Railroad. Riddick's journal, ending November 12, 131, reflected on justice's complexity and the courage required to pursue truth. The story of Nat Turner's rebellion is not just about violence, but a calculated effort to expose corruption and seek justice. It challenges official narratives, suggesting deeper truths about slavery's impact remain buried, reminding us that history's most important stories are often those powerful forces work hardest to suppress.